All right, so some exciting news. There's a Trump loophole that started in March 2025 that you can use to have negative adverse accounts that are currently on your personal credit reports. You can have them permanently removed as if they never existed at all. So I have a lot to get to, so let's get started. All right, so in full disclosure, this is kind of an inadvertent haphazard rule, or law rather, that took place around 3 years ago, and it was kind of not put in place really well, and it kind of wasn't used as well as people could use it. And so you're probably wondering, Monica, it makes some sense here, hello. So here's the deal. Most of you know that you don't have to worry about medical bills piling up on your personal credit anymore, because thanks to a little known law back in 2022, you can actually have medical stuff taken off your personal credit as if it never existed. This includes hospital bills, this includes, anything that has to do with medical. Now, stay with me, because you're probably thinking, well, Monica, I don't have anything medical, or there are no medical things related to anything medical that I can claim on my personal credit right now. Well, listen to me very carefully, because you might not realize that you can actually use this loophole for some of the closed accounts that you currently have right now. So before anybody gets all, their panties in a bunch, because I know some of you like to post your little comments about how what I'm about to share with you might not be legal. I already cleared this with my attorney in Beverly Hills, who handles all my credit stuff for me and for my students and clients just like you. And so I had asked him, is this legal? And he told me yes. So let me explain to you how you can use this medical loophole to have accounts that are currently closed, collections accounts, etc., that are currently on your credit report right now that might not look like by face value that they are medically related, how you can actually utilize this little known loophole to be able to get these things permanently removed off your personal credit reports. Now, first of all, if you're not sure what an adverse account is, it's basically something that's negatively impacting your personal credit, right? So you probably have a lot of closed accounts, charge-off accounts that you'd prefer that they didn't exist at all. And so ideally, you can have them permanently removed as if they never existed. That's the goal, especially if it's a negative account. You don't want that on your credit report, right? So the faster you get it removed, the higher your FICO will go, and the more credit worthy you will look if you can get these off your credit. So you're probably thinking, well, Monica, I don't have any medical bills, or any of the medical bills I did have, they're gone now. Or maybe you do have medical bills and you didn't know about this little loophole, and there might be a hospital bill on there, or an ambulance bill, or anything related to some kind of care, health care. Could even be a dentist bill. I mean, technically, and I asked my attorney about this, and he said yes, dentistry, especially when it comes to dentistry that's critical for your health, that actually can fall under the health care category. Because if you think about it, if you have some critical issue that you need some kind of oral surgery for example, that's considered a medical bill. So maybe you didn't think about how some of these other things that are not technically directly medical related can get removed off your credit, because by law, they're not supposed to be on your credit anymore anyway. So yes, if you do have hospital bills or anything that's medical related that's currently on your credit reports, you could simply send a letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, which are three credit reporting bureaus. Send one letter to each of them telling them to remove these hospital bills, ambulance bills, anything related to any medical, have them removed off your personal credit. And you could just simply say that this is the law, and you cite the law. And so if you want my free credit templates, my free credit letter templates, you can go down below, and I will also in the description box below tell you exactly what the cited case law is, so that you can add that to your letter to give it a little bit more oomph, if you know what I mean. So you can do that automatically with your medical bills. In fact, there should not be any more medical bills on your credit, but a lot of things slip through the cracks, folks. You can't expect these credit reporting bureaus to want to do right by you, because they're never going to do right by you. You need to do right by yourself. And so you need to double check to make sure that there's nothing medical related on your reports, your credit reports, because if there is, it needs to be taken off. And you don't even have to offer an explanation other than you need to take it off, because this is the law and here's the law. And that's it. You don't need to include that it's not yours, it's not the right amount, they need to investigate, none of that crap. You just basically say, take it off. You're legally not able to put it on there, so take it off. Period. Now here's the little loophole I want to share with you. So starting March 2025, this little rule about having medical stuff kind of really got really bolstered up, and it's now at, I guess you could say, max capacity as far as how the law works. And so a couple, 2-3 years ago, when it first started to come into, I guess, general knowledge for consumers to be able to take off medical bills and anything medical related off their credit reports, now the full thrust of the entire law is now in effect as of March 2025. So what does this mean? Well, basically it means that anything that falls under the umbrella of medical can be removed, like I mentioned before. It could literally be chiropractor bills. It could literally be oral care bills or oral dentistry bills. It could be anything that can be even construed, remotely construed as medical. It could even be prescription medications. Now, hear me out. What if, this is a question I have for you. I don't have an answer for you personally, but what if you had a Capital One bill that maybe is a closed account or a charge off right now, and you used to have like a credit, Capital One account or any other credit card bill, and you used even part of that to pay for anything medical related. Like, for example, maybe you used your Capital One credit card to pay for some dentistry work. Maybe you used that Capital One credit card to pay for some kind of medical stuff, including prescription medication, maybe some kind of aftercare, maybe some kind of therapy. Maybe you had, you used it for somebody else in your family. Maybe a family member needed some kind of medical care and you had to use your credit card to be able to pay for it. And so here's the loophole. And again, I did ask my attorney about this, so don't be playing armchair attorney with me in your comment section, because unless you are an actual attorney, my attorney did clear this with me and stated that yes, if you have, say for example, a charged off Capital One credit card and you had paid medical expenses with that credit card, that's technically considered a medical bill, even though it's showing up as Capital One. And that can go for several other accounts that you have on your credit report that are closed charge-off accounts. Now, let me back up for a second, because some of you are like, well, Monica, I still have a Capital One card, but they're late pays and this and that. Let's just be clear. I know somebody's going to ask me in the comments and not listen to what I'm saying in the video, but if it's an open account or a current revolving account, do not attempt to utilize this strategy for an open or current account that maybe you have late pays for. Don't do that, because it's not going to work. We are only focusing in on closed accounts, including charge-off accounts, including collection accounts. That's it. So closed, dead as a doorknob, closed. Like, you are not trying to do this with open revolving accounts or late pay accounts or anything like that. So what you need to do is go on your credit reports by going to, I like to go to Escalating.com, pay the $40, get all 3 credit reports, all 3 credit, FICO scores, just to see where I'm at, because that's the starting point of all of your credit repairs. You have to get those 3 credit reports. Now, if you want to go to Credit Karma or some other place to get them for free, great, good on you, go for it. If you want to actually go to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, you get a free report every single year. You have to write in for it. Or if you are denied credit, they have to, by law, give you a credit report for free, but they don't usually give you the FICO score when you do it that way. But you want to be able to see what your before and after picture is, which is why I tell everybody, go to Experian.com, pay the $39.95, get all 3 credit reports, and then when you start the process of fixing your credit, at least you know where your before and after points are going to be, what your goals are, etc. So you take a look, and in the very first section of your credit reports, when you print them out, I like to print everything out, so you'll get the downloadable PDF file, you print it out on a printer, take a highlighter marker and go ahead and go through all the adverse accounts and see where you stand and what you need to get off. Now, you want to target the accounts that are closed. You don't, again, want to deal with any accounts that are still open and revolving. Closed accounts only, and that includes charge-offs and collection accounts through a credit collection agency. And so you want to see if there's anything that could be remotely related to medical. And if it's a credit card, then yes, it very well might be related to medical. You could have very well paid for a variety of different things related under the medical umbrella, including but not limited to medical care, dentistry or oral surgery care, aftercare when it came to medical, chiropractic bills, any kind of therapeutic bills, any kind of prescription medications, anything having to do with medical with another person, that's all considered medical, all right, under the law. And so what you can do is use the same loophole, and you can actually fight the credit reporting bureaus, which are, again, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and you can actually say, well, these bills here, this Capital One card, this Bank of America credit card, this other credit card, all of these are also related to medical bills as well. because, you know, I use these credit cards to pay for medical bills. And initially they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, you're going to have to show proof. It's just like, well, it happened years ago. I don't have the receipts anymore. They're likely not going to ask about that because they're just so inundated right now with just tons and tons of inquiries and disputes and all kinds of stuff right now. And so you can very well say, you know, I paid expenses with this Capital One card. So under the law, as per this, you know, and again, I will cite exactly what you're supposed to say down below in the description box. You basically just copy and paste that law and that cited case law there, and you basically tell them you need to remove this as per the law, federal law. And you know, they might come back and say, well, you know, I don't believe that this Capital One card was medical, or they might just take it off altogether. So you have a 50-50 shot. That's just a reality. Now, if they don't take it off, they might just say, well, no, we don't believe that it is. You just keep running the dispute over and over and over again. So every 35 days, you'll be able to send the same letter. I would do it 3 times in a row, 35 days apart, until they remove it off, or until you have to take it to the next level. Now, what is the next level? What happens after the 3 disputes and say, for example, maybe 1 or 2 accounts fell off, but the rest of them didn't? Like, what happens at that point? Then you have to start the process of actually doing complaints. This is the part that a lot of people get lazy about, but this is the part that actually is when the rubber meets the road, literally, where you could basically say, well, you know, I need to actually start filing complaints against you. And so what ends up happening is that you file complaints against Experian, against Equifax, and against TransUnion, the 3 reporting bureaus, and you basically file complaints with their state attorney generals, each of them, and then you have to file a complaint with, I'll explain all of this as far as down in the description box exactly where you're supposed to file the complaint online with the federal government. And so what ends up happening is they start getting all of these letters from these different legal, you know, departments, and then eventually what ends up happening is that the stuff starts to fall off your credit. So you have to follow through with the final step. You know, it just irritates me when I do videos like this and I try to share with you some pretty incredible tips and strategies that you'll never find from anybody else as far as how to fix your credit. And somebody inevitably in the comments is like, well, I tried this once and it didn't work. Okay, well, it took you years and years to screw up your credit, right? Years and years of you not paying your bills, but yet you expect to do this in like 10 minutes? It's not how life works, sorry. You know, it's like working out. It's like, you know, you let your body go flabby for several years and you don't get on the treadmill once for 5 minutes and think that, you know, you're going to turn into some bodybuilder or something. It's not how it works. You have to be very proactive with it. You have to be on a schedule. This is why I always tell people to have an Excel spreadsheet so that you can know exactly what you're doing, when you're sending letters to who and about what, and when you're sending complaints out, when you're filing complaints online with the federal government, all the different things that you're doing to follow through, to be proactive. Because I will tell you, there will be a vast difference between how your credit looks today versus how it's going to look 6 months from now and how it's going to look 12 months from now if you're very proactive and timely with how you actually file everything and send all your letters out and do your complaints, okay? And of course, at the very end, if you still can't get anything off your credit, I mean, I can guarantee you things will fall off. You're not going to have a 100% success rate. So again, don't be typing in the description or in the comments down below, oh, Monica, I tried this and half my accounts came off and the other ones won't come off. Again, this is a process. Rome was not built in a day, as we all know, and this does take some time. But at least you got half the stuff off, which should have made your FICO score go up. Now we just have to target the other half and just keep focusing and pushing and paying attention. And so what ends up happening after, say, 6 months and you still can't get those last really hard, nagging, negative things off your credit, then you'll have to up the ante and file a lawsuit. And I'm going to be talking about that in another video. So make sure that you give me a thumbs up, helps me out a lot, as well as subscribe, because I have a lot of new stuff coming up as far as how to get things off of your credit personally, but most importantly, how to rebuild your credit, how to get unsecured corporate or business credit, even if you have currently a poor personal credit score, and how to actually get cash for starting a business, investing in real estate, maybe investing in the market, whatever it is that you want to do as a cash flowing enterprise as an entrepreneur, because let's face it, economy is not going to get any better. And you're going to have to start some kind of side hustle to be able to make a lot of money in the months and years to come based on the crap show that we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to be talking a lot about that stuff as we go along. So again, make sure that you subscribe so that you can get all my newest videos. This is Monica Main signing off, and I will see you in the next video.